welcome back to another episode of the Just Learn Crypto Show. My name's Sean, and today I'm here with Ben Perrin from BTC Sessions. Introduce yourself, Ben. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Ben. I'm out here in Calgary, Canada. I've been in crypto for going on, it'll be 5 years pretty soon. I kind of started paying attention in 2013. I didn't really get in and start playing around with Bitcoin until early 2014. I've been in for getting close to 5 years. I tried to learn everything I could, but back then there weren't quite as many resources as there are now. So a couple years in, I decided to start to try and create content that would be easily accessible for people that are new to the space. So I started my channel, BTC Sessions, and I told myself I'd always put out at least one video a week. That was my minimum, and I just started, and I haven't looked back since. And that was kind of 2016, maybe early 2016, and I'm still going strong. And so it's kind of built up. I'm lucky enough to have, I think, nearly 30,000 people subscribe to the channel, and I've had about 2 million views across everything that I've done, which is insane. I can't believe that. And then I've been lucky enough to work with a number of different cryptocurrency companies. Currently, I'm working with Satoshi Portal, which is based in Montreal, and they have two services. One is called Bills, BYLLS, and they allow people to pay basically any Canadian bill, rent, anything you can think of with Bitcoin.
Wow.
And it's super awesome. It's been around for a few years actually, but
are there fees associated with using that platform, or?
Yeah, but they're very, very low and very reasonable. So check it out. And you can also if you want to pay somebody in fiat, let's say you wanted to email transfer somebody some money, you can do that through Bills. So you can say, I have Bitcoin and I want this, and this person doesn't want my Bitcoin. Well, do it through Bills and they'll get money. They'll get dollars.
That's really cool. I didn't know they had that function. I've heard of Bills. I haven't dove into it too much actually, but I live a pretty minimalistic life. I try not to have too many bills, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they offer that service, and then they just launched a Bitcoin outlet as well. And so they have like an online portal where you can buy, and so they kind of utilize the fees that they get through Bills. They basically call that fee like a disincentive to dump.
Okay.
So and then they take those fees and then they're able to offer cheaper Bitcoin through Bitcoin outlet because of that, because they're getting Bitcoin for cheap through Bills.
That's really cool. And they're a Canadian company out of Montreal.
Yeah. Francis Pouliot is the CEO, and he's big on crypto Twitter. So I'm sure especially some Bitcoin maximalists would be familiar with him.
That's really cool, man. There's so many cool projects going on in Canada, and it's like, we're stuck at this time in crypto where a lot of the good news isn't making it out to the wide, to mainstream amount of people. It's extremely hidden. You're hearing all the negative stuff. So I love talking with people that are involved in my market here in Canada, because it's just endless. Like there's hundreds of companies that are solving real world problems and creating ways and really cool ways to integrate crypto into everyday things like paying your bills or buying gift cards or, going to buy a cup of coffee and being able to pay with, your favorite altcoin or Bitcoin. So it's exciting, man. Canada's actually carving themselves out a piece of the blockchain pie and like really putting Canada on the map as a crypto hub globally. There's companies that are looking to move. I'm not going to say any names, but I was speaking to a guy who runs a company in Malta. And all I've been hearing lately on the news has been Malta, is crypto friendly. It's the hub. If you want to run a crypto or a blockchain company, run it out of Malta. You know what I mean? And he kind of told me something really different. He was telling me how they're in the middle of writing regulations. So they're actually hopping back and forth and creating huge headaches. They're setting dates that a company has to have X, Y, and Z completed by this date. And then they're moving the date up, and it's actually turning into a headache to the point where he's looking at bringing his company to Canada because we already have a set regulation for how a blockchain company and a cryptocurrency company can operate, properly and compliantly in Canada. I mean, there's already a few publicly traded cryptocurrency exchanges based right out here in Canada. So it's exciting, man. The next few years are really going to bring out a lot of competition, I think, between countries. And I think once the countries and governments realize, like, we can't stop this technology, nor should we want to stop it, they're going to start competing to try and get those entrepreneurs and innovators to come work and base their companies out of Canada or out of Europe. And it's going to be interesting, man. This is an exciting time to be in crypto. So tell me about the first time you bought Bitcoin. Like, were you referred to it by a friend? Did you stumble upon it? Like, how'd that play out?
Yeah, well, like I said, I stumbled across it in 2013. I saw it, I think, 3 different times. The first time I saw it, it was like $13. It was something ridiculously low. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I should read up on that. And then I let a couple months go by and it was like 100 plus. And I was like, I missed the boat. And so then I kind of just ignored it. And then the end of the year, it was over $1,000. And I was like, what the hell? And so I started being like, okay, I need to actually read and understand this, because either this is a Ponzi scheme or there's something actually interesting here. So I didn't buy right away. There was like a 3-month window between like seeing that crazy high price and then it starting to come down. I spent like 3 months reading and trying to understand and trying to find resources, which was difficult, before I was like, hey, I think I'm going to, like, I kind of have a grasp on this. I think I'm going to start playing around and actually try. So I found a website, another Canadian website called Quick BT. And it was basically, you could buy Bitcoin with your debit card online in small amounts. So I would go and buy like $50, and I had to download like the Bitcoin QT wallet, which required me to load up the entire blockchain, which took 2 or 3 days to sync just to be able to see like my current transactions.
Yeah.
And very, very different experience than today. Not only that, but like shortly after the first time I ever bought Bitcoin, Mt. Gox crashed.
Oh, God.
And so it was like mass panic of people not understanding that this is like a terribly run Bitcoin bank, more or less. It's not the currency itself being hacked. Luckily enough, I had done enough reading at that point to understand that. And so I wasn't scared off. And that's why I was able to kind of stick it out through the bear market of 2014, 2015, because I understood that this is just poorly run businesses versus the currency itself failing.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big thing right now, man, is that there's still a lot of confusing places to get information from. It's still really hard for someone without any help or guidance to learn about Bitcoin, learn how to buy it, learn how to get a wallet, learn about private keys, public keys. It's still, there's no one-stop shop for it, right? And it's still creating the same trends where we get all this hype, we get all these people buying in, uneducatedly buying in and not taking the right steps, and then bad things happen, and then it hits the media, and then people freak out, and people just need to zoom out on the charts and see like how far we've come and start to recognize some of the trends, right? So I've been watching your videos for a while, man. You actually helped teach me a lot of stuff about Bitcoin when I first got into it about 1.5 years ago.
Oh, thank you.
You were sharing videos up on my Facebook group, the Canadian Crypto Club. That's what the first one I started. So what's some advice you would give a family member if they wanted to start with Bitcoin and they said, Ben, I've watched your YouTube videos. You never shut the hell up about Bitcoin. You got me. Get me in on this shit. What's step one? What's the first step?
I heard the first part of that a lot more early on without the "you got me" part. But in 2017, I had a lot of those questions of like, okay, now I'm interested. Explain. So typically, I try to get people to understand Bitcoin first and start wrapping their head around that first. Because I mean, I was lucky enough that at the time when I got in, there wasn't a lot of noise in the space. Like there wasn't a lot of stuff to pull your attention elsewhere, and pull your focus. Especially in 2017, there was so much when it comes to like ICOs and like certain coins that really had no point in existing, and a lot of hype around a lot of nothing. And so now what I try to do is I say, understand Bitcoin first. If you can wrap your head around that, and like the value proposition of like, why was this successful or necessary at all in the first place, then you can start to apply those lessons, and then you can decide for yourself, now that you're informed, whether or not you see value in other coins. So having that as a litmus test at least gives you a solid foundation from which to start. If you don't have that, if you come into the crypto space and you don't understand what Bitcoin is or why it has had the success it has over the past decade that it's been in existence, then good luck trying to decipher the value proposition of any other coin, right?
Or even wrap your head around blockchain and the whole technology, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I myself have kind of been on a bit of a journey where, I got into Bitcoin, and then as the hype train kind of started, I started dabbling in other coins. And then I've kind of come back to a place where all of my focus is back on Bitcoin. And I'm not necessarily saying that people have to go that route, but it's the route that I've found myself on just because of the content and everything I've read and watched has led me that way. And that's kind of like where my journey has taken me. And so I encourage people to try and understand as much as they possibly can, but start with a foundation, because if you don't have that, you're building a mansion on shaky ground. So it's very easy to get lost in that, and it's hard to decipher the scams from technology that has value if you don't have that. So I always say that, and then I also say the amount of your investment should directly correlate with your understanding of the technology.
Yeah, that's a really good motto actually that people should follow, because I started bringing people into Bitcoin at the beginning of 2017. Bitcoin was around $1,200 or something, and so many people were just like all about the hype, but they only wanted to learn what you would teach them, and that's just human nature. People are lazy, right? And I'd have people coming and being like, dude, I got a couple grand, like show me how to put it in, and like they don't even understand how to do a transaction. They don't understand anything about the technology behind it or why it's valuable. They're just buying the hype, right? And that's what we saw all through 2017 was thousands of ICOs coming out, just empty promises and people trying to go viral. And it wasn't even about the technology. It was a total popularity contest. Who had the most, pull on social media. We were seeing people shilling every project under the sun. It was ridiculous, man. Last year, like literally was one of the most interesting and scary and frustrating and hilarious times that I've ever seen in the Bitcoin market. So my question, I guess, is for people that are going to be getting into Bitcoin during this next bull run, which, could be in a month, could be in 6 months, could be in 12 months. I mean, at the end of the day, really nobody knows. So, I mean, would you recommend the people that are into Bitcoin right now, should they still be, spreading the word about Bitcoin with their friends and family and helping them get in? Or would you recommend people kind of let nature take its course?
I think regardless of what the market is doing, there's always value in teaching people about how this stuff works. And the reason I say that is, I don't like giving investment advice. If somebody comes to me and says, should I buy Bitcoin or should I buy X, Y, and Z? I try not to respond with a yes or no followed by followed by why, I try to start with, well, here are the things that you have to consider.
Mm-hmm.
And I never give that definitive answer. I can, like, if somebody asks what I've done, I can tell them what I've done. But I also always finish that up with, but I could be wrong. It's kind of like I don't know if you ever saw that meme. It's Kanye West. And he's like, when you give somebody crypto advice, but you got to end with,
but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
So I typically believe that if you're teaching somebody, show them how it works. Teach them about how to construct a transaction, how to send and receive, and how to secure it. Because if you don't understand security, let's say you were able to navigate all of 2017 and you were able to sidestep all of the scams and duck and dodge around all of the minefield that crypto was last year.
Yeah.
If you made it through, but you never spent the time building on those fundamentals and you don't know how to secure it, you may have lost your money anyways, just through malpractice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's always important to be teaching people about this stuff, because if they're not using it now, I think they will be eventually. And so, teach the practical uses and how to utilize it.
So what was are you a trader in any way? Like, do you do any trading?
I do not, because I am way too emotional when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm not an emotional guy when it comes to just regular data. Like, I'm not going to, fly off the handle if somebody gives me an offhanded comment or something. But when it comes to like looking at price charts of coins outside of Bitcoin, I can't handle it. Like so like I remember trading in and out of a few coins for a while, just trying to, time it. And it's always because, and I've read books on technical analysis and tried to understand, reading charts and everything. I've done my fair share of that, but my emotion tends to trump it every time. Mm-hmm. And so if I were trading, my goal would be to obtain more Bitcoin through doing that. But in most cases, when I tried that, I was incredibly unsuccessful. Yeah. So my tactic henceforth has been buy and hold and dollar cost average over time.
Awesome, man. Have you invested in any ICOs, and are there any that you're looking forward to or investing in right now?
I have never invested in an ICO. Really? Actually, I've never touched an ICO. I can explain why briefly. Let's say, I know that not all ICOs are malicious in their intent, but there's obviously a minefield out there. For me, it's more of a risk reward kind of play. And when I look at it, it carries a whole different dynamic than investing in a company through stocks, because you have to consider kind of like two different levels to your investment at this point. So one is the same kind of looking at stocks as saying, okay, well, who's behind it? Who's the founder? What's the team like? What are they trying to build? Is that company going to be successful? So on and so forth. All the regular questions you would ask of a company, including like, is there a demand for what they're trying to do? Mm-hmm. But then on top of that, you have to then look at the token that they're offering and then decipher, okay, well, what are the token economics? Like, how many tokens are there? Is there a supply cap? How are they being issued and who are they being issued to? And then what's the use case for that token? And can the company be successful, and is the token necessary to that success? So, is it possible that the company is wildly successful, but their token is in the end not necessary or useless, and people don't need it for the company to do well, and so like the coin becomes useless and the company does well. So you have these two different levels to look at, and so there's a lot to consider. And in looking at that, it's just for I'm a conservative crypto investor, which is a bit of an oxymoron, but
No, I get it, man. I mean, play in a
yeah,
risky industry, but minimize your risk. You have to. You got to minimize the risk. And
yeah. And I always recommend, if somebody wants to make those riskier plays, just be okay with the amount of risk you're taking, and understand what you're doing.
yeah, I had a horseshoe up my ass last year. Honestly, man, I'm not an economics major. I don't read charts. I don't, I go with my gut. And like, I mean, I think I have a fair amount of common sense, and, enough common sense at least to zoom out and look at charts over a longer run, and, analyze previous companies compared to future ones, and just break down ICOs, like what's going to make an ICO successful. And also, like, have a friggin' exit strategy. All these people that have a hodl mentality when it comes to an ICO, you're out of your friggin' mind. Take your profit, move on. There's a new ICO coming out every 10 minutes. You don't need to be married to every single one, right?
Yeah.
The only one, though, that I really threw into last year was Electronium. And I mean, I think the project's kind of stupid now. They haven't done shit. It was a lot of hype, but that is why I invested in the ICO. It doesn't take a genius to realize that if a company wants to raise money, that the more effort they put into social media marketing, the bigger following they have, and the more viral it goes, the more successful that coin is going to be worth when it hits the market, right? And Electronium was one of the ones that I just saw. Like, when I first got into crypto, I joined every single group that was on Facebook. And last year, dude, it was so stressful. Like, you'd be opening Facebook up and you'd have like a million scam messages, and like people are just like all those binary option trades and scammers.
Oh, I hate
dude.
this.
Oh my God. It was nuts. Like, it was the point where I had to spend hours and like get myself out of all these scam groups, like Bitcoin Philippines, Bitcoin Thailand, like all these really scammy groups.
Yeah.
But the one thing I noticed that while I was in like a few hundred groups was everyone was shilling the referral links for Electronium more than any other ICO at the time. So I did really well, man. I threw in $30, okay? Because again, I'm the same way, dude. I'm a super conservative. I'm like, I can afford to lose $30. Like, who gives a crap, right? And then I shilled the referral link to a few friends and clients that I was helping get into crypto. Same kind of thing. Guys, this is all I'm basing it on. Like, if you listen to me, like, don't be mad. Like, I might lose all my money. I have no idea. But they're getting a lot of talk on social media. And as soon as it hits the exchange, I would dump it right away. That was the advice I gave. And I think everyone should do that more or less with ICOs. Like, buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing. See, because I mean, these coins will find their value eventually. But long story short, a lot of people ended up getting in under my referral link. And I ended up turning my $30 into almost 6,000.
Oh shit!
And this was right before Christmas. And like, again, followed my intuition, followed my gut, sold all my coins. I kept like 1,000 coins, are worth nothing now. And I made a great profit, and I was able to take that money and invest it back into Bitcoin, and put it into a couple other coins. So I'm the same way. I'm very dismissive when it comes to ICOs, and I think it's something that most people should avoid, especially because it has that whole get rich quick mentality attached to it. People think that they're going to just be able to buy a Lambo in a week if they invest in an ICO, and emotion takes over. Logic goes away and emotion takes over at that point. So yeah, people definitely need to be careful with ICOs, because they're getting. I mean, the big problem is that these companies are selling a token disguised as a security, and that's when it falls into problems with all these regulators, and that's why you're seeing ICOs being launched from different countries with less regulation. So very scary thing to kind of throw your money at if you aren't willing to lose it. At least I've seen people put like their last dollars into an ICO and lose it, and I was just like, oh, what are you doing? Like,
exactly.
Just buy Bitcoin. It's risky enough. But so where do you see Bitcoin going? What do you see being the next big catalyst that's going to push Bitcoin to back to its all-time high?
So I'm a firm believer that the main driver of not only Bitcoin but the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem is the Bitcoin halving, specifically the Bitcoin halving. And not in the way, not, I guess I should clarify that I don't think that the halving happens and then instant it's a bull market. I don't think that's how it plays out. I also don't think that like leading up to it is the big moment. I think it takes time. And so I guess to clarify, I did make a video on this back in March of 2018, this year. And I kind of outlined what I thought might happen over the next couple of years. Of course, I prefaced that video with, I'm just some fucking guy. So, do your own research. Don't be stupid.
Yeah.
But I do think that the halving is a driver in the way that there'll be a little bit of anticipation before it. So you might see a little price bump there.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's like the real impact of it. I think that after the fact, so at the moment of the halving, there's X number of Bitcoin currently on the market being traded. That stays exactly the same at the moment of the halving. So there's still the exact same supply. But then every 10 minutes after that, there's half as many new Bitcoin released onto the market. So after 10 minutes, instead of there being 12 and a half new Bitcoin, there's going to be 6.25 new Bitcoin when it gets to 2020. And so at first, that's not a big deal. There's so 6.25 less Bitcoin every 10 minutes. But over time, the market was used to that many new Bitcoin coming onto the market. Over time, that reduction in new supply means that it's more scarce. Mm-hmm. And so in the time, probably in the year after that, you're going to see this pressure, assuming that people still find Bitcoin useful and they want to utilize it at least as much as they do now. You're going to see this pressure on the price because the same amount of people want it and want to buy it up, but there's less available.
Yeah.
And so what happens when there's less available? Well, either the person buying it is just going to buy less, or they're going to offer more in order to get those people that are holding it to sell it. Mm-hmm. So we saw this in the last two halvings. Halving in 2012, well, nothing happened right away, but the year after was insane. Massive bull market across the entire crypto industry. Same thing. Halving happened in 2016. Mm-hmm. In 2017, it was insanity. Mm-hmm. And that, I think it kind of percolates out to every other coin, because people that make a ton of money in Bitcoin maybe start sloshing around some of that money in some of these other coins and trying to play their cards there and make more profits. And people that weren't already in Bitcoin are trying to look for the next thing because they feel like they missed out in Bitcoin. Maybe they can, make their gains elsewhere. Yeah. So it kind of has this compounding effect. And eventually you get the manias to the point of last December, where it, you had a jump from 10,000 to 20,000 US in like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Do you think John McAfee is going to have to eat his dick in 2020? You think we're going to see a $1 million Bitcoin by then?
I do. I 100% do. I don't think he's going to do it. I think he's going to have a whole shitload of reasons as to why he won't do it.
Dude, if he eats his own dick on TV, I'm going to lose a lot of respect for him. Either way, like, if someone lays a bet down like that, like, don't take them literally. Come on.
I feel like I would have more respect for him for carrying through, but he's not going to. First of all, I'll be the first to say, I would love if I was wrong about this. If I was wrong about this and 2020 we had $1 million Bitcoin, great, awesome. But I believe McAfee, didn't he also clarify that he considered Bitcoin to be whatever Jihan was mining?
I can't speak on that. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I thought there was something about that where somebody, because he was firmly before used to be like in the Bitcoin Cash camp. I'm not sure like exactly where he lies in that spectrum now as to what real Bitcoin is. But I seem to remember at some point somebody saying, wait, which are you talking about, Bitcoin or are you talking about Bitcoin Cash? And I think he said something to the effect of he would consider it to be whatever Jihan was mining. Now, don't quote me on this. I'm going to have to go and look, but it does sound familiar to me. So anyways.
Yeah, well, I had John on the show a couple weeks ago, and me and Ken were interviewing him, and we asked him a similar question about Bitcoin Cash, and his answer was pretty much he finds it really childish and stupid, this feud between Bitcoin cashers and Bitcoiners. And at the end of the day, I mean, he makes a good point. Like, whatever one does the trick is going to be the one that survives. You know, it's like, why would you hate on someone that's trying to move an industry forward? Like all this Roger Ver hate. He's very good friends with Roger Ver, and like had nothing but great things to say about him. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's true. Like everyone's getting a lot of people get very emotional when it comes to that feud between, is Bitcoin Cash the real Bitcoin? And it's like, who cares? Support crypto. Just the fact that, you know, these people that are pushing for mass adoption in cryptocurrencies, working on making it more accessible, working on making it faster, like it's all just positive things at the end of the day. It's just people like to spin it in a negative way to stir up more media. And it's just like, you know, the people that hate Ripple. And I mean, it's very easy to get swept into that mentality, right? But I was talking with a really well-known trader yesterday, and he was mentioning, like, you really want to be diverse. You know, bank on Bitcoin, but bank on its nemesis. Buy some Bitcoin, buy some Ripple, buy some Bitcoin Cash. If you want to buy Ethereum, buy its competitors as well. You're covering all your bases that way, and, you know, you're kind of minimizing your risk. So I know you said you mostly pro Bitcoin, investing in Bitcoin. Do you have, are you comfortable with naming your second coin after Bitcoin that you might be hodling?
I have 0 other coins.
Wow. Oh, hey.
Yeah. So I'm going to give a reason behind this. So I've a lot of it, again, it's been a progression, because at other times I have held other coins. I've had Ethereum. I've had things like Monero. I've had, you know, Litecoin and Dash and other coins. Now, over time, what I've been looking for is why did I get into crypto? And what do I think are the most valuable things that it brought here, and why was it successful? So one of the things was separation of money and state. So that across the board, I'd say that's more or less been achieved by all of the cryptos. That's fair. The other thing is the idea of sound money, finite, where there you can't just print it into oblivion. Now, this has not been achieved across the board when it comes to being finite. Some cryptocurrencies are inflationary. Some have no set monetary policy. And some, the distribution is in question. So things like pre-mines. A few years ago, pre-mines, and that's, if anybody unfamiliar, this just means that at the time of inception, the creators of the coin basically are able to mine a whole bunch of it just for themselves, with nobody else able to do it. So they have a stash of it, and then they open up to mining to everybody else. So they have kind of their own stockpile of it before it ever launches to the public. Years back, that concept was scoffed at, and it was seen as very like anti-crypto. It's become a lot more of the norm. So if you go to something like CoinMarketCap, the website, and you scroll down and it says total supply, some of those will have an asterisk beside it. And so the reason is because there's something to note about the way that the supply was created. So that's when you click on the coin itself, it'll detail that for you. But that's another thing that I look at is sound money. Censorship resistance, that's a huge one for me. So how difficult is it for the coin itself to be coerced into changing? It's been very obvious that Bitcoin is incredibly difficult to change, at least at a base protocol level. You can build on top of it whatever you want, but the base protocol is difficult. Ethereum has that move fast and break things mentality, which is fine if you're using it in terms of, I need this technology to accomplish X. As an investment, you have to look at, okay, well, is the demand going to outpace the supply? And what is that supply? Right now, there's no set monetary policy for Ethereum. I believe they were looking at reducing the block reward from 3 to 2 Ether, But then that becomes a question of, if they can do that, is it difficult to change it back or to increase supply?
Yeah.
So those are things to consider. And then the last thing, and this is the most important thing for me, is how easy is it for an individual to run their own node and self-verify the transactions?
Mm-hmm.
And that's quickly become one of the most important things for me, because if I can run a copy of the blockchain and see all my transactions, then I know for a fact that the money is there and it's on this immutable ledger. If it becomes too cumbersome for me to run a node, so for instance, this is why I'm not a big fan of Bitcoin Cash, is because they've allowed for super large blocks in order to accommodate quicker and cheaper transactions.
Mm-hmm.
Great for maybe a payment rail, but what happens when it gets to the point where, say, in order to run a node, it costs $20,000 to have that type of computer infrastructure? All of a sudden, the responsibility of being able to check transactions, if you want to, it has to be passed off to a third party. Mm-hmm. And that's what I worry about. That's the path that I don't want to go down. So when I look at all those factors, that is what has led me to go back to just Bitcoin, because those are the things that are important to me. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that other people utilizing certain coins or tokens for other things, I'm not trying to discount that, but make sure you know your use case for what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Are you into mining at all? Have you ever mined any cryptocurrency?
I've played around a little bit, but I'm talking like very, very small scale kind of stuff. And I do have friends that were mining very early on. There's a guy I know, I remember he said, "Oh yeah, I stopped mining when I was getting less than 100 Bitcoin per week."
Oh my God.
So, I was like, "Oh, come on."
Wow. So can't fix stupid.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So I don't mine actively. I find that very interesting. I think there's a lot of mining happening here in Alberta now. Mm-hmm. Out in Medicine Hat, down in Lethbridge. There's a lot of mining facilities popping up, and they're trying to capitalize on excess energy. So instead of like flaring natural gas, they'll take that, and normally that there's a cost associated with getting rid of that waste. Now they'll just funnel that into power mining rigs, and that cost is now a profit.
Wow, that's really sweet, man. Well, listen here. Let's check out your YouTube channel. So we'll give people a view of it, and that way, they can know how they can follow you. Boom, boom. Here we go. BTC session. So people can follow you on Twitter at BTC Benny. You're on LinkedIn under Benjamin Perrin, Facebook, BTC sessions. And people can send you all sorts of spam right to btcsessions@gmail.com. I really like the way you have your channel set up. You've got some wicked featured channels. You've got Kenny Bozak, Andreas Antonopoulos, like Digital Gold, Tone Vase, Ivan on Tech. I actually met all three, Ivan, Tone, and Jimmy, on the blockchain cruise. And me and Ken helped set up a panel and got all those guys on the panel. It was wicked. Omar Baum.
Oh, that's so.
Yeah, it was sweet, man. That boat cruise was awesome. So you've got educational videos on here. You've got interview videos. And I see you've been killing it, man. You got some good videos, put them out at a good time, and you're got a lot of good job.
Yeah, it's funny because some of those videos were made in like 2016, and then they became my most viewed videos in 2017, because it depends on the type of content. I find news content has a shelf life, whereas as practical knowledge tends to last longer. So yeah.
Well, it's funny, you see some of these older videos and they just don't fucking age well. Some of them people are just like, oh yeah, Bitcoin, it's gonna crash, and Bitcoin's gonna be gone in 3 months, and then you're watching the video 12 months later and you're like, nailed it, bro.
yeah, exactly.
So there's lots of ways people can get in touch with you and follow you and see your new content. You're putting out about a video a week.
Yeah, I actually just launched, I forgot to tell you about this, but I just launched my website, so btcsessions.ca. And
check that out. Hold on, we're gonna shill your website right here, bro.
Yeah, man.
Hey, question for you? Do you use Presearch?
I'm somewhat familiar with Presearch, but I haven't. No, maybe show me on it.
Yeah, well, Presearch is like kind of like a filter, which still allows you to search on Google, DuckDuckGo, or you can search directly through Presearch. Every time you do a search and using them as your search engine, you actually earn Presearch coins. You earn a 0.25 of their coin, and it's on Hit BTC. So
Yep.
it's really cool. They protect your data. They stop Google from taking all your searches and then targeting ads at you. So they add in a layer of security there for you. What did you say the website was? btcsessions.com?
btcsessions.ca.
Oh, geez. Hold on. Fat thumb problems here. Boom. Session. So we'll search that. Just earned myself a little bit of cryptocurrency for searching your website up. Where do we have? All right. Let's just throw it up here instead. BTC.
Yeah, it's literally brand new, so it may not have
the SEO. The SEO is probably not pumping it up too high yet. Your YouTube channel popped right up though. Oh, that's really nice, man.
Yeah.
So for one-on-one cryptocurrency tutorials, is that something you do in person, or do you do that online through Skype?
Typically in person. So like I'm based in Calgary, and a lot of the stuff is again in Calgary, but somebody really, really wanted to get a hold of me, I could probably do something via Skype or Google Hangouts.
Nice. Sweet, man. Well, that looks really good. Congratulations on the new site. And if anyone wants to have Ben come out and speak at one of your events, he's got a section. You can book him in for an interview right now. I know I've seen him speak and seen a lot of his videos, and I can definitely vet him and say that, anyone that listens to him speak is definitely going to get their money worth of education. That's for sure. So thank you so much for being on the show, dude. I really appreciate it. We're throwing a big networking crypto event on December 15th in Ottawa. So hopefully you can make it out, man. It'd be awesome. Have you been to Ottawa?
Yeah. You know what? I was about to be in Ottawa last fall for the first time. I was there when I was a kid, but it's been quite a while. I was going to be there in the fall, but I suddenly had got called back for work, and I didn't make it. So maybe I need to get out there. Yeah, for sure. You know what? After we wrap all this up, I'm going to chat with you about bills, and maybe we can find a way for you and them to get out and come take part in Satoshi's Ball. So thank you so much for being on, guys. Make sure you follow Ben on YouTube, subscribe to his channel, share his videos, show support for the Canadian crypto community. And as always, have a great day, guys. Catch you next time.